Okay, so let us begin. So what we are going to do, we are going to do two things today. First, we are going to design a questionnaire and see what are the essential elements for normally how do we design a good questionnaire. That is our target. And then we will have it on stata. How do we use data to analyze? And I think that will continue for the next class also. Okay, so that is my target today. So even though for Google Form, I believe it's not the technique of Google Form that I'm interested in, but it is the how we set up the question, how we think about it. That is my target. Clear? Today is March 19, and we are looking at. So whenever we want to do a research, we need to collect data, and there are different way of collecting data. Nowadays, I think the best way to collect data is electronically collect data. Okay, that is the best way to do it. And there are certain advantage of collecting data electronically. Used to be we always use a questionnaire as a hard copy, but for the last 5 years, I don't think I have used uh, any data collection that I use for a standard paper. So not today. It's almost like 2015. Yeah, 2015 onward. I don't think I have ever used a questionnaire on paper. Okay, so that is so I think and one of the reason and when you look into the data, uh, remember the data is a number. So that is the first understanding that if you want to analyze or do any analysis on data, we must realize the data is a number. It is not a text. So text are not really data. So it has to be a number. So when you design a questionnaire, we need to think about it. And the data in another form, a number, if you look into the number can be of many types. One of the number is, which is the cardinal numbers, what we said in the cardinal numbers. And what is a cardinal number? Like your age is a cardinal number, your weight is a cardinal number, which means I can use these numbers for both multiplication, subtraction, division, and
Addition.
addition. So these are the four operations that I can maintain on a data. So these are for cardinal numbers. So your weight, your age, for example, your income, for example. So there are many numbers that we, but there are many others numbers. Another number set of numbers are binary numbers. So there are binary numbers, and you will find out that certain data we collect as binary number. These are 0 and 1 variables. So these are the two options. It's like a yes no variable. Another way to think about is like male female variable. May not be binary, but you can place it as a binary variable. Another variable set is categorical variable, which may also or may not be ordinal variables. So it is possible that categorical variable may be ordered or it may not be ordered. For example, religion may be ordered, may not be ordered. You may not want to put one religion better than other. Education, clearly you can order. So religion could be categorical, education could be categorical, but ordinal numbers. Regions could be also categorical or ordinal, depend on whether you want certain regions to be first and second. So that is why whenever we design a questionnaire and we said, okay, we need questions to be designed. Remember, we ask a questions. That is something we forget. So we ask a question means the question must have an answer, and the answer. So There is also a set of questionnaires which could be open-ended questionnaires, and there are also coded questionnaires. So a lot of the example I have given so far, these are mostly coded numbers. Open-ended questionnaires need to be coded again. So I will show you with example different questionnaires. But in order to collect data, whenever you have the questionnaire design, so you design your questionnaire, the first question must be, you must give an ethical statement. So ethical statement, designing an ethical statement, which is very common nowadays, you cannot collect a data without an ethical statement. What are the ethical statement? Ethical statement of keeping privacy. That's a very important way of collecting data. If you do not maintain privacy of the data, then people should have the right to opt out. So opting out is an ethical. So opting out is a requirement that you see nowadays. Universities, whenever you do their data, they will say, "Look, I want to make sure that you have ensured the privacy of the data. You have ensured also opting out, opting out options must be there. In other words, I don't want to answer, and you must provide a question that is uh, neutral in a sense. The question are not biased. So unbiased question. What is an unbiased question? That question that you, the way I say it, it might lead to a response. So best example, probably an unbiased question is uh, is a question that we often ask when we meet each other, or how are you? These are a question that you don't expect, and nobody will give an answer that I'm not very good. This answer is okay, I'm okay. And then with others, you need. So you don't want to give a question so that he gives an answer without thinking. So you must be, and also this kind of statements should be embedded in terms of designing questionnaires. So what I want to do, I want to use Google Form to design a questionnaire for us. I have an example already set for you. So I'm going to go through this, but it's a very simple way of doing it. So those who, since you all are familiar with Google Form, I will go to the example and then say, okay, how do I design a questionnaire so that we can collect data? So nowadays, you know, anywhere you go, they'll say ethical statement must be a part of the question, and it is the first opening statement. So what you are going to do with the data? For example, because of these statements nowadays, we rarely collect the name uh, of the individuals unless it is required. But we, even if we collect, we have to tell them that we will not use it. There's a risk always of collecting data with name. And the risk is, if I know that you have collected my name, I may not be ready to tell the truth. And since in social science and in our human behavioral science, I want him to be open. I want him to tell me the truth as much as possible without hesitation. I do not want him to be identified. So whenever we draw our sample, it is not a practice that is very common in Bangladesh, but as we go through, we find out that we are building this as a practice because of, particularly after the High Court ruling. I don't know whether you are aware of it. Uh, when Transparency International created a, a, a what you call survey, and in the survey they found out judiciary is, few years ago, quite a few years ago, judiciary is one of the most corrupt uh, sector of the country. If you remember that, a long time ago, maybe 5 years ago, uh, that is the time High Court wanted uh, all the data returned to them. That actually alerted researchers across Bangladesh. And many of the people, including Transparency, from then on, to my understanding, I remember still talking to them at that time. I say that is a dangerous precedence, because then social scientists will have difficulty of getting the truth. Because people, whenever we collect the data, we have an ethical statement. We tell them that we will never give this information to anyone. And yet, when someone has either legally or even in any other means that they can collect the name of the respondent may be in trouble, whatever is the reason, because of his or her statements or opinion expressed in the research. So globally, I'm pretty sure these similar events happen around the world. So the standard nowadays, universities around the world, even my university, we have ethical committee. So before you go to the research, you will say, okay, go to the ethical committee. And the first thing we always do, make sure the respondents are protected. So remember, in laboratory data, science data is all laboratory based. Uh, and there is no individual, there is no issue of social, what you call, punishment because of the data. You cannot punish an insect for giving an information. But human society are much more complex. So whenever we collect data, the one of the requirement, international requirement, is that you should not uh, collect information in such a way that you can identify the person. So I'm giving you the logic that whenever we social science, this is our laboratory. Our laboratory is human mind. So whenever we do research and whenever you ask someone to identify, one of the ethical requirement of the researcher is to make sure that we do not identify the person by name. So that's why whenever you do the research and publish a research report, all the names has to be fake names. Now you might say, I'm not. It may not be harmful to him, which is perfectly okay. But giving a full name could be derogatory to their family members. Someone may not want to express some of the, or that's one. That's why nowadays when we do case study, we don't give the name. But the data we normally, when you present to the technical committee like supervisory committee, they would like to see things that these are all right data, not fake data. That is one of the reason in Bangladesh we do collect sometime name, but whenever you process it, do not enter the name of the person. So a lot of time we do not even enter the name of the person. So anyway, the example I'm giving is the next textbook example, and we would be able to see certain requirement. So let's go to this. This is a sample survey questionnaire. I have used Google Form. Those who are familiar with Google Form, you know it's a very simple way of doing it. So I can create a new Google Form for you. Let's start a new Google new form. The idea of a Google Form, I think you should let me start with the Google Form first. So we normally those so we I normally do this. So I get the forms and we said, okay, I want a free form. Very simple strategy. And whenever you have a free forms, go to Google Forms right here, and we go to Google Forms. Very simple starting. So when we start a Google form, I start with the plus sign. I'm just starting as a blank form so that we know. And it comes like this. And the first thing for you to do is to give the name of the form. You click here, just like I do it in Jamboard, you have seen, always click there and give a name. So this is, for example, we say sample survey. So you can, whatever you give the name, it automatically prints here. You can change it, but this is your file name. Remember, your data is kept. Whenever you are searching for the questionnaire, you will be looking for this name. So this name should be identifiable so that you know which survey, because there could be many surveys, so that I can easily search it. So that's what normally you do. You give your ethical statement possibly here or possibly as a question. So there are two choices. One is give a ethical statement there. The best choice is put as a question. But before that, always remember to go to the setting, because settings are important. And in the setting, for example, here, collect email. And the moment you collect email, the data may not be anonymous, at least it is identifiable. So if you are doing a survey for your thesis research or for any other purpose, we normally out and save it here. So you can see how am I doing. I'm saving it here. And once I save it, it is no longer asking any email. So that's number one. We start the questionnaire from here. I will do it in the other sample, but that's number one. But there is another way to do another thing to do it, which is response. Because you are collecting data, you want to keep the response somewhere. Now there is always, and this is where if you go to the response and if you click here, is always collect the response in a spreadsheet, and they give you name, the same name. Okay, or you can create your own spreadsheet. Okay, so I normally make my own spreadsheet so that wherever I collect my data. So if I say select existing spreadsheet and then say select here, it will show all the spreadsheet that you use, for example, and you will say which one. Just giving an example, which one. So if I go and say, for example, I'm giving an example for you to think about it, that if I go and take an example, I say this one, then it will immediately make a sheet open in that file. So if I go to this one, it will open a sheet. So remember, the idea of creating a sheet is actually coming up from here. I'm not going to do it here, but the idea is very simple. So whichever spreadsheet you want, for example, if you want just an example, this one, and says select, so immediately it goes to that spreadsheet and open up a sheet for you. So this is a sheet for you. You can rename this and you can say this is my data, whatever survey data. So that means you know where the data is being collected. So I'm just giving you a logic to understand that we can actually select the sheet. You can also unlink the form. As I said, I have unlinked the form, unlink it. So I know that it's no longer linked with the sheet, and that means it goes back. So you can do this, or you can create this sheet with a create. So either you select an old one or you can create a new one. Now, in many cases, I use the old one so that I know where the data is going. Otherwise, you just create one. That is the starting point. So let us go back to the sample questionnaire that we have, and where I have a statement. The statement is worth looking into it. So I'll say and the statement is, for example, this questionnaire is designed to study aspects of life at work. So this is an example from a textbook. The information you provide will help us better understand the quality of our work life, because you are one who can give us a correct picture of how you experience your work life. I request you to respond to the questions frankly and honestly. Normally, you are supposed to read it out before the statement. If you are face to face collecting, the first question must be read out to the person, or he should read it before he start responding. Your response will be kept strictly confidential. Only members of the research team will have access to the information you give. So what does it mean? It means that this information will only the research team will know, nobody else will know. These are the ethical statements. In order to ensure the utmost privacy, we have provided an identification number for each participant. So this is in a face-to-face. You said, I have given a number. What is the number? That you are respondent number 1. You are respondent number 2, which means I have a separate sheet where I know who is the respondent number 1 if I have collected your name from a sample frame. So I actually know who you are, but in the questionnaire, I don't ask you this question. That's what we are saying, and that's the standard nowadays. So in other words, in the questionnaire, you never ask the question, but in a separate sheet, you have the name and the number, so that if you link them together, I know as a researcher who is the person. Okay. So the team research will have access. In order to ensure utmost privacy, we have provided an identification number for each participant. This number will be used by us for follow-up procedure. So sometimes we want to follow up a question. We want to respond someone after 5 days of an experiment, after a month of an experiment, and want to know whether there has been a change in his human behavior. That's why we need sometimes this. The numbers, names, and completed questionnaires will not be made available to anyone other than the research team. So this is a promise of privacy, and you have to make it. Whenever you collect data, you have to make this and ensure that, and that's what the protocol of research. So whenever you are doing academic research, we should be aware of the protocol of doing this research. And we said, okay, this is how I'm collecting. And the reason I'm saying this, because you understand that whenever people are responding, he is giving his opinion free and frankly and honestly. And we want to make sure he's comfortable with his response. And that is the reason we do it. A summary of the result will be mailed to you. This is something that, and if you do this, normally we'll tell him that, okay, since the result will be summary you will given to you, you can give your email at the end. And we normally, I will show you, I have an example. When I say that if you give your email, we will send you the report. So sometimes people are interested to get the report. So we may actually want this. This is something like that. So I'm giving all the examples so that we know, but it's not essential. Answer is, if you want, if someone has given you a response and he would like to know the result, he might be interested. Then you give him an option that provide me your your email and I will give you the result. That's sometimes required. Thank you very much for your time and cooperation. I greatly appreciate your help of your organization and yourself in furthering the research endeavor. And then you should obviously give your name. Who are you? So that is the opening statement. And you must give an option yes and no for him to answer. So that is an important idea, yes and no. So what I have done, for example, when I go to, and this is where you should understand how data should be collected. All the data has to be collected. So this is the, if you click here, I'm pretty sure you have seen this. There are different ways of collecting data. So they have created different ways of collecting data. We should learn that we can use it. Multiple choice means only one of the response will be correct. So sometimes then one of the response is correct, and that's what multiple response. Checkbox means more than one response may be correct. So if it is only one, that's one checkbox means more than one response is correct. So I want him to give me more answer. What are the sources of income? Example. So he may have multiple sources of income. Agriculture is one of them. Salary is another of them. So if you want multiple response, then obviously you should always use checkbox. So remember, your choice starts right from here. So the moment you set the question, you must say, what are the response type? And that's what I'm explaining it. Short answer is like small answer. Paragraph is a larger answer. Okay. There is no, you can set a limit, which I will show you. You can have a drop down, some choice making it. Now, drop down and multiple choice are exactly same. The only difference is multiple choice, you see all of them. And in drop down, you don't see, you click it and it shows one by one which one and you collect. For example, the country name. Remember, a lot of time country names are dropped down. Why drop down? Because too many choices. I don't want to fill up my questionnaire giving all the choices. That's the reason. So multiple choice and drop down are very similar. Only difference is the way it is shown. File upload is like you are uploading a file. Linear scale is like Likert scale. If you are using Likert scale, use linear and linear scale, and it will give you the 1 to 5, 1 to 10. It will ask you how many. So that's the Likert scale. This is multiple choice grid, which means I have a set of questions on the same issue, and in every time I want to choose one answer. That's a multiple. I will give you an example. I don't think I have an example of multiple checkbox, which is there are multiple answers, exactly the same this one, but this one is multiple answer is correct. Okay. Then we can collect date and time. So that is the standard. So whenever you set the question, you make sure this one is chosen by you, not given as a default. The default is multiple choice, but we normally think about it and said, okay, how should I collect it? Then it comes here, and whenever it comes here, you can either put a what you call a symbol, or you can write it up. So I just, for an example, I thought put a symbol, and symbol putting is very easy. So I'm going to show you right here. So see right this here. If I want to put a symbol, I can click here. And if I click here, it goes to Google Images. If you have a own your whatever you want to do. So I say I go here and I'm looking for yes. So I'm looking for yes. So I know I will get this. So I just click this one and insert. So immediately yes comes here. So you realize that this is, and then the choice comes that what happens if you say yes and what happens if you say no. For example, if someone says that I don't want to help you, right? Remember, after this, you have to ask a question that will you agree to respond to the questions? That means I'm asking him that would you agree to respond to the questions? If he says yes, that means he is going to ready. If he say no, he should be closed because this survey will not go anywhere. Now we still collect this information because I know how many people said no. So in order to understand how many said people say no, we actually collect both of them. And there is a choice right here. If you go here, if it's multiple choice, there is a choice like go to section. So this is an interesting one. So I just use go to section. I will use different types of options here. So this is one I have used, go to section. And when I go to section, this is the question options available that if I say yes, what to do? So we said, if you yes, go to the next section. And if you say no, submit the form, which means I don't want to continue with this. So if I look into the questionnaire, this is how it looks like. So if I go to the questionnaire right here, I say, look, how does it look like? So it goes looks like this and it shows me like this. And if I say no, it will not show me anything else. We can say no and say next, and that's it. Say submit, which means no other question you would be able to see. On the other hand, if I say yes and say next, it will take me to the next set of questions. So you realize the difference. What I'm dividing, I'm branching out. So it takes me to the next set of questions. So, and this is what I'm just going to show you that, okay, we can actually think about branching a question. In other words, you can branch out from one set to the other. So it's like if you go back to here in terms of our set and we said, okay, what does it mean? You can use it for any professional purposes anywhere. So it's like you set the question. So you have a question one, and if is yes, you go to question two, and if it is no, you go to question 7. So for example, so there is question 2 to 6, which are only valid if you say yes. So if you remember, you want to do this branching out. So question 1, and then you said if the question 1 response is yes, then you ask a set of question. And if you want to say if the question is no, you ask a different set of question, which means right here you bring section. So now you start to realize that how do I organize my questionnaire? You bring a section, and this is section 1 section. So you can say this is section 1 and this is section 2. I'm just giving you I will show you how to do it. But my point is that I know that I have to create a section because I'm branching out. And this is a question with go to options. So you realize that you can create a go to option. And whenever you create a go to option, that you can branch out. That's exactly what I have done here. So I have created a branching out as an example, just to show you the examples. Whenever I did it, this, so remember, originally this was not there. So the way it works is without this. If it is without this, this is what happens. So it means you take the response and go to the next one. But since I want to branch out, so I said, okay, I need to branch out. I go to section because I want to branch out here. So I say go to section. If I go to section, then I know yes means continue to the next section. I can actually give a name of the section. I can say, if yes, we would like to know who are you. Then we say sample questionnaire. And if it is no, I may want only about you, nothing more than that. In other words, if I am interested to know who are you, so I can give that, or I can say submit form. If he says no, he may not want to do anything. So see how I have branched out. This is exactly the branching out. So you can actually branch out your questionnaire from one section to the other section. Then you want to create a new section because since it's a branching out, remember the design, I want to branch out, so I need to create a section. So always remember, whenever you are branching out, you need to create a section. And when you are creating a section, how do I do it? We click here. So now we have a lot of symbols here. Let's explain these symbols. Symbol number one is this one, which is creating a section. Symbol number two, which is you might want to show a video. So you want to do an opinion and you want to show a video, and then you want to ask him question about the video. So for example, let's say I want to set a question for your all the students. So I may actually include a video, ask them to watch the video, and then answer the following questions. So these are, so I can introduce a photographs, and then based on this, I can add things. I can write a title or descriptions I want, that this is what it is. Or I can import a questionnaire from my previous other questions, or I can simply add a question. So in this case, what I have done, I have added a section. So if I'm here, remember, I'm already here. How do I know I'm here? Because this is my opening question and my cursor is here inside. And then if I say add a section, it will automatically add a section below. So I have added a section and I said, okay, I want a section A. I can give any name. It's always worth to divide the questions into a module. So that's the other point that I want to bring in. That whenever you design the questionnaire, break it up as a module. So you break it up into sections, basically. Each module should be, should a theme. So modules with a theme. So for example, in this case, I have two modules. One is about the work. So I want to know, and second theme about yourself. So I know that I have divided into different modules, and that's what I have done. So I'll show you what happens, that each module, each section. So the first section is about work. And then I created a second section, which is about yourself. Which one comes first, which one comes second really doesn't matter at this moment. You just design it. And then you can think about it. So I'm giving you the logic to understand that we can design it, and then we can move any section anywhere. So you can say, for example, this one, you can say, move the section below or merge with the above. So you can do all the choices right here. So if I say move the section, then it will ask me, where should I move this section? So I can move this one here. So which means this one will go down, this one will come up, or I can put it here. So remember how it works. You can move this and save it. So this is exactly the way it was. I'm not moving it, but I'll show you how to section. You can move the section, but each section is separate section. So when I go to this section, you can give a description. If you want to explain to him this section is about what. Now you realize that we never asked his name so far. We are not even asking anything about him, because it has been done many research and people said if you start asking about his name, about his address, about his job, he may not be ready to answer. He may become alert. And this has happened in many countries, in many surveys. So after this, nowadays, they said, look, don't ask about anything about him. What is your objective? I want to know about his, how does he think about his workplace? That is something I'm interested in. So if that is my interest, why don't you ask those questions first? That's the logic of setting up questionnaire. So we said, okay, the questions below, and this is the question I'm asking. So we said the questions below ask about how you experience your work life. How do you experience? Think in terms of everyday experiences and an accomplishment on the job, and put the most appropriate response number. It may not be number. This is response. I should eliminate number for you beside each item using the scale below. So when I do this, and I have here, you have seen that I have used immediately multiple grid, which means I'm going to ask many questions and multiple response. I will show you how it appears. So in the row, I have asked him 9 questions. So there are 9 statements. So these are all statements. And I asked him, do you agree? Strongly agree, agree, slightly agree, neutral, slightly disagree, disagree, slightly disagree, strongly disagree. So I have choices 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, it really does not matter which one comes first, which one comes last, but ordering them, these are ordered with a scale. So this is agreement, then neutral, then disagreement. It could be the other way. This could be disagreement, then neutral, then agreement. So this is a scaling of a. So I could say this is strongly agree, and I could say this becomes 1. So this is possible. I could say this becomes 2. For him, it really doesn't matter in a electronic questionnaire, whatever you write it or not. So for example, I have done this. So what are the statements? I have created my statement the way I want. Okay. So let me show. So how do I show it? So we go back to, again, this is where the preview. So I click here for preview. And obviously I have to say yes in order to see this. Next, next, and we'll go to this. So it says exactly the same thing. The questions below ask about blah, blah, blah. Remember this. Remember that 1 and 2, it can show you 1 and 2 if I put it this way. Now, you don't have to. Okay. And the first question was, I do my work best when my job assignments are fairly difficult. So about your work, how do you accomplish daily work? So this is a research question and somebody wanted Likert scale. So I created it, he gives a response. Strongly agree, or neutral, whatever he thinks about this one. There was a second question. When I have a choice, I try to work in a group instead of by myself. That's another one. So I may disagree, for example, strongly disagree. So we actually think about responses. And this one, on my work assignment, I try to be my own boss. If I strongly agree, this is what I seek. And so remember what is happening, multiple choice in a grid, which means I have a column. These are the rows and these are the columns. The columns is you are giving the scale and the rows is the question. That's how it is. And it can actually show it on your mobile. And since it's required, we have to answer all of them. So we will go back and show how this has been made. So we come here and there's a choice whether this is required or not. So if it is required, you click it yes, otherwise no. So for example, in this case, I said, if you agree, say yes, go to this section. If he says no, submit the form, means I don't want to continue with it. Now, I come here and I have just shown you this one again. When I was designing it, remember this is why I was designing it, I said require response in each row. We said yes. So if it is yes, every question has to be answered. Then I have the next question. Number of years working in this organization, which means I want him to give an answer in numbers. How many years? That's why it is a short form, short answer. So I choose the short answer. And then there is a choice here, which is called response validation. So this is how you control the data so that somebody do not give you useless data. So quality control of data is important. So when you are asking a response, you want to validate, and I want to make sure that somebody write the right. So this is response validation. And what I have done, I've said it has to be a number. So remember, there are many choices. So I said it has to be a number. And it has to be greater than, we can give a greater than 0. Which means it has to be, and then I can give a command. If there is a problem, why? So has to be larger than 0. This is so, if somebody have a response more 0, it will immediately show them this has to be larger than 0. I can also put a description. In a descriptions right here, I can give him a choice. Less than 1 year, put 1. If less than 2 years, put 2, and so on. So what will happen immediately if I write it, and if I look into the, so I have created a description, you realize what I have done. And if I go here, just to show you, because you can always do the pretest, you can see how it looks like. So when I go here, if you say yes, go next. It will come here. You have to go take the response, and it comes here. It says, look, if less than 1 year, put 1. If less than 2 years, put 2. And if I put 0, it says has to be larger than 0. So see, it's a very simple logic that if I want this way, so I can always put this way, this control. This is exactly our. So whenever you design a questionnaire, you have to think through how do I want the response. So you can create this. So this is, I have a short answer, and short answer could be text. Default is text, but it could be a number. Okay, you can also fix the text and say, for example, uh, when you want to create other logic, you can put it so there are length, an expression, whatever way you want to do it. So I want the job status. So remember, this one is giving me cardinal number. This one is giving me ordinal numbers. Remember, I'm giving you use. I understand how the numbers are going to come. Ordinals. This is giving me the what you call. I can put a 1, 2, 3, 4. That's also possible. So if it is 1, 2, 2, 4, it will only show me. For example, if I could have just simply say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But then I need to put a description. So if I put this way, because responses are numbers, I put a description. What is the description? 1, strongly agree. 2, agree. 3, slightly agree. 4, neutral. 5, uh, slightly disagree. 6, disagree. 7, strongly disagree. So you can see I can put this way. And if I put this way, the moment I put this way, I can go to the again to see the preview, how it would look like. Again, I say yes to test. I go to the next question, and it will show right here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And right here, it is giving me the explanation. So depends on how you want to do that. It is always what to collect them as a number. That's what I put it this way. But if I do not put it this way, it will collect them as a statement. But then I have to convert them into number as we go into any other software, which is not difficult. I will show you that it is not very difficult. So I collect this way. So this is how the numbers are. Then I have this statement, job status. And then when I go to this, so this is, oh, sorry, I have to get out of this one. So I go to my questionnaire again. And I say job status. This is a question I have multiple, which means there's only one response possible, and I'm trying to find out at what level he is working, because different people work at different levels. So we want to make sure that these are also organized. So I have said top management, mid management, executive, trainee, or intern, something like this. So we can create this. So he said this is all about my work. So I'm just a very, and then once it is finished, I can say either submit, that's possible, or you can say go to the next section. So normally by default, go to the next section. So we can, or we can skip the section. If you have another section, we can skip this one. That's possible. So I'm just giving you the idea that we can skip this one and make it possible. So we can this. So we said another section which is about yourself. So now I'm asking his name, his age. When I'm asking him his age, I said the number, and I can say greater than 25, which means I'm not going to interview anyone below 25. That's possible. I can say greater than 18, which means I know that if somehow you are collecting information on less than 18, this will block you. They will say, no, no, you are not supposed to. Okay. So I'm just giving you that I can create my error response based on this, whatever is one, whatever I want. So this is how we do it. You say greater than this, you can say equal to, less than. Remember, all these choices are possible. So I'm just giving you this. So this is also required. I can stop it, but I can put this as required. So that is one. Your highest completed education level. Now I have created mine, Again, it's ordered. Now it could be number, but if it is number, you have to explain this. So remember, the idea is that this is how you do it. Your gender. Now, somebody may say, do not want to say no or yes. I don't want to reveal my gender. You might give him an option. Or somebody has a third gender, so you might say third gender. So I'm giving you the idea that depends on what is your research purpose. Not necessarily you have to do this way. So if it is a third gender, you might say, I want a third gender to be separately explained, because in my survey, it may happen that different gender group people have a different kind of response. If that is my hypothesis, that's why research hypothesis entered, that what are the things you were thinking of. So I collect this. This may be third gender. I collect the marital status. Again, there is no order. Remember, these are categorical. So categorical may be ordered, may not be ordered. So this is not ordered. We are not saying which one is. We could also collect religion. We did not in this case. So this is an example. So whenever you are thinking of designing your questionnaire, you think through first that how do I design my question. So as I said, like this is how you have done. You can collect data.